Hello and welcome to this new development stream for ScourgeBringer. The introduction of this week episode is a bit special because I had issues with the sound on the beginning of the recording of the Twitch replay. So what you hear now is not the voiceover that I've made during the stream, but thankfully there is only a couple minutes in the beginning of the video that had an issue. So you are going to be transported to another segment of the video, like about 2 minutes in, and I will be talking about a bug with our slug enemies that was moving around strangely, and you are going to be able to catch just air. So here you go. Of the tile of the graphics. I'm going to show you this into the game editor. It's going to be more visible. You're going to be able to visualize this. Okay, so here's the editor, and so here's the room. It's the starting room, and here are the colliders. And you can see that each tile are 16 by 16, but the colliders are 8 by 8. Is just something to have more precision and to be able to do like smaller platforms. And it happens that there is a lot of discrepancies between the rendering and how the physics work behind, and there is sometimes some edge case and some tricky stuff to figure out, but it doesn't sound like very complicated, just exposed as being colliders being just half of a single tile, but in some cases there is some tricky stuff going on, and more specifically for our little slugs. And the infamous bug of the rotating slug. So they were like rotating because of, well, they didn't knew where they should stand, and basically the code I have for everything that is AI following walls, I'm just going to try to find another slugs moving so I can explain you while you can see them moving around. Okay, here's one. So basically the slug is walking like randomly, turning around sometime and sometime trying to follow up a wall. And so basically what it does is just that it's an AI that is like moving, following a wall, and every time it hits a wall, it tries to follow it up. And if it keep going and is suddenly on an angle like this, I mean, I'm going to take a post-it. Okay, if I have my little slug climbing up this tile, and it's going to go just up there, the AI is very dumb. It's not even trying to like detect the edge and so on. And it's just going to go straight forward. And once it moves and it is out in nothing that's in air, then there is going to be a little check that is going to search for the closest tile which isn't on the same plane as the one it previously was. So what it's going to do is just going to move here and find this edge and just keep going like this. And this bug was very special because the slug, when it is too far from an edge, is going to try to start to attach to a tile that doesn't exist. So if the slug is here and this tile doesn't exist, it's going to just to check in its surrounding if there is any tile suitable for its next move. And since there is nothing at all, the logic is going to loop
and it's going to attach into something that doesn't exist, but it's still in like nothing near any other compatible tile, so it's going to keep going. And that's what this bug was all about. And this bug, it was not supposed to happen, because yeah, of course the logic is a bit flawed, but the problem was that for some reason the slug were going too fast or going in a direction that were not supposed to go, and they ended up blocked in a place where there was no tile. But it was not supposed to happen. And the thing is that I found out what was the problem. The problem was the stop frame effect that we have when you kill an enemy or when you hit it with a dash attack. For instance, I'm going to dash on this enemy, and you are going to notice that on the moment of the impact, there is going to be like a very small freeze. Just pay attention. I'm going to jump and try to dash to the right. So I don't know if you've noticed, but there is like a little freeze, a little stop frame to just mark the impact. So that's a cool that's an effect that is quite relevant to the kind of stuff that you want to achieve. The problem of the logic behind this stop frame is that on the very moment of the impact, on the very frame of the impact, I am setting the time to 0 to like simulate a full stop for like 1 frame. And the problem is that if a slug was moving right to a corner on the very frame that this stop effect was kicking in, there was a chance that instead of moving around the tile, I have the cat that is completely crazy and jumping around in the whole apartment. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, when the slug was on the very frame and trying to get around a tile on the very frame that the stop effect was kicking in, the slug didn't understand that it had to turn around, and it tried to move from a distance that was not supposed to be there, because movements are multiplied by the game time, and if game time is 0, movement is 0. But I had that very special case when the slug are turning around. I was placing them manually to follow them to the next tile, even if there is a 0 time. And that was the problem. So the problem was that when these conditions were fulfilled, the slug just went off from the platform and started to spin around and so on. And that was very funny, because when you were hitting another enemy to trigger another stop frame, you were seeing the slug turning around and moving a little bit in space every time you hit something. And that was very weird, and that's how I've noticed that it was due to the stop frame that this bug happened. Yeah, so catching up with the chat. Hey Anton, how are you? Hey Levi, and hey Lacrim. So Debbie, hey, finally I was able to catch the stream live. Ah yeah, it's cool to have you here. And Crim, it's really a little freeze, but yes, it was there. Yeah. It's very visible in one specific instance of this room. That's perfect. Perfect demo, because I'm going to show you what this effect is all about. It's going to be very exaggerated into this configuration. So there are new enemies that are going to pop, and yeah, bam. So I've just tried to like. Okay, now still the cat. She's like behind the screen and just trying to rumble around everything. And yeah, so the stop frame is very visible when there is a lot of impact, a lot of very heavy impact. It's like something. It's a bit like the smash attack, but the smash attack is very exaggerated. Oh, here you are. So this is the Night Terror. Like, she is looking very cute and like not harmful at all, but she's like doing the worst kind of thing right now. Yeah. Oh, sorry. And so the impact, I'm going to try to find an enemy to show you about this attack. So this is the smash attack, and the smash attack is like pushing enemies. And if you just pay attention to this, so in this attack, I am insisting a lot on everything that is effect, stopping frame, and I'm even stopping the input of the character. Like the enemy keeps going, but the character is still like freezing time just to mark the impact and the power of the move. So, and that's all about stop frame and so on. So we are still tweaking everything, like how much should we stop things, and it's not really a full stop. I mean, I've said that there is one frame that is completely stop, but there is also something like a very smooth slowdown, and it's just to smooth out the effect, because if you just freeze a frame, you have a very strong sensation of feeling that the game is currently really freezing or like having some heavy slowdowns. So we do not like make complete full stops for too long, never for more than one frame. And then after that, we just use something like a slowdown effect to smooth everything out. But we still have to like configure everything so that everything looks and feels correct. Going on with my list of new stuff, attack cancel and delays. So that's something that I've been talking about for a long time now, also in the newsletter, is that the important things that we want to have regarding the smash attack is that from a gameplay perspective, it's something that is going to be very important, because it's going to be used to cancel enemy attack. So it's like a move. If I'm going to get attacked, I'm going to like trying to hit the enemy on the very moment that is about to hit me, and I want this to like prevent him from doing his attack, and ultimately to something like stun the enemy and keep moving with my combo and so on without getting hit. So it's our own stuff at like guarding or evading, but we want this to be an attack. We don't want you to back off, and we want you to keep going into the action, and that's how we hope to be able to do it. It's this kind of attack which is going to be a central point into our game design. And so that's something that I've been coding lately. So right now it works. If I'm just trying to smash on an enemy while he's about to fire at me, it's going to cancel its attack. And if it's already firing, it's also going to cancel its current attack and so on. The stun effect is not quite yet in place, but that's something we are going to get to very soon. And something I've also been working on, but that's no big deal, is that enemies that are like fixed on wall, like this crab cannon, can also now be affected by the smash. I mean, if I try to smash this enemy, I'm going to try. Okay, is getting like pushed with the wall and so on, and the slugs also are getting pushed, but it's not visible because they only have 1 HP and they get killed by something, by any kind of move. That's no big deal. That's no big deal, but it's something that was not yet into the game. So when you were smashing the enemies on the walls, they was like just staying like rocks, and it didn't feel right. So that's something I've been doing lately. Buffering stuff, buffering. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, catching questions in the chat. So, how will you manage the counter attack in the case of many enemy attacking you with the projection of the smash attack? So when there are a lot of enemies around you, it's going to be a bit tricky because you can't really. I mean, what we are going to do, or what the game is already doing, is that when there is one enemy about to attack, if you like land a perfect smash on any of them, it's going to like to cancel the attack of all of the enemies that are caught into the smash. And we are also thinking about having like an upgrade of the smash later on in the game that will also allow you to repel bullets or like cancel bullets attack with it. So it should make things more manageable and also allow you to like fight really big hordes of enemies without fearing to getting it too much if you like perfect the smash attack. And that's things that we are currently doing, but we are going to add more. We are going to add more enemies, more kind of enemies to highlight like a more complex gameplay and very different situations. Because right now the enemies are a bit dumb and not very complicated with some very simple patterns, and we need to figure out with more complex enemies and different kind of situation if all the gameplay is working together nicely and so on. So right now there is still a lot of stuff that we are not very confident to yet, so we have to expand this prototype, the enemies, try to start making bosses, and really try to harness the combat system and the gameplay that we're trying to do. But what we really want to achieve with this combat system, I'm going to try to show you. I'm going to try to play correctly to my own game. And I'm usually very bad at my own game, but this one, I think I'm a better player to ScourgeBringer than I am for New Voyager. Okay, this room. What's interesting with this room is that you can just combo everything like without almost touching the ground. This is possible thanks to something very specific, that is, if you hit an enemy, your jump is like regenerated. You can double jump again. If you just jump dash and smash things, you can like cleaning a room without even touching the ground. So, and the challenge of the game is going to be like cleaning rooms as fast as you can with touching the ground as little as possible. And we want the gameplay to be very aerial, to be able to juggle enemies and so on. So what's maybe missing to the game? No, I was about to say that something that is maybe missing to the game is an attack that is able to throw enemies into the air, but it exists and it's a smash. So no. Yeah, so the whole idea is to have a combat system that allows you to like play very fast, and that you are in control in every time. Can you over by eating something? Anton is asking. Yeah, I mean that you're speaking about air controls. So if you eat like nothing, there is some air controls. And also, if you dash, the dash is not affected by the physics of the game. So you just dash in a straight line. And the smash also has something like stopping you mid-air when you eat. And yeah, it seems pretty overpowered. We still don't know how we are going to fine-tune the beginning of the game, because right now, most obviously, I'm playing with what would be a character that already has a lot of abilities, but we don't want you to have a bad experience from the beginning of the game by having a character with too few abilities. And for instance, everything that is wall jumping, double jumping, and like climbing on walls and so on, this is going to be the base stuff when it comes to level traversal and moving around. Maybe stuff that is going to be upgradable and not there from the beginning of the game is maybe going to be some of the pounding attacks. You are also going to be able to upgrade this attack. If you notice, there is some kind of waves that go from to the right and to the left when you hit the ground, and it's going to be upgradable. It does damage to enemies, and you are going to be able to upgrade the distance it travels until it disappears. The smash attack is also going to be upgradable to be able to like repulse enemy in all the directions and in a wider range. So you are going to be able to counter the attacks of more enemies at once, and also maybe going to be able to counter like range attacks and be able to repel bullets and other kind of stuff. Yeah, and something that I've been also working on lately is buffering all the inputs, because I've talked to you about this last week about the slash, because the slash has a cooldown, and the thing was when you are hitting fast enough the X button to slash, if you were hitting in between two slash during the cooldown of the slash, the input was lost. It was ignored. And sometimes if you were not completely in sync with the cooldown of the slash, you could feel that the game is like not listening to your inputs, that some inputs are missing, and that was an issue, because we want to have a feeling very, very smooth regarding this. So last week I've told you that I've been buffering everything that is slash, which means that if I hit very fast the button, it buffers a certain amount of inputs, and there is something like 1 or 2 slash that are buffered, that allows you to keep the pace with the cooldown and so on, so you are never late and you feel like right about the inputs and so on. So just question in the chat. So Anton is asking, maybe Celeste like stamina that refills when you land or hit an enemy, but depletes when you hit nothing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you are thinking about, but we are trying to maybe think it differently, because we don't want you to like in the middle of a fight not be able to dash or to use a smash or anything like this, because it can be a disadvantage, because you start a combo, you can really read the action, and suddenly you notice that you don't have any more dash on something, and you can continue your combo and you are getting hit. That's something we would like to avoid, so we are trying to think about this kind of stuff differently. And the current idea that we have in the works is that you are going to have an unlimited amount of dash and smash, but if you are using them too often without killing enemies, they are going to lose some effects. They are going to be less powerful, and if you really want to do some ravaging combos and doing the really OP stuff, you are going to have to kill enemies or to hit them and so on, to like refill a counter of special attacks or something like this. And anytime that you use one of these attacks, it's going to deplete this meter, and that's the current idea that we have, to not like remove too much of the moveset or prevent from using certain type of moveset. We really want player to have this freedom of like doing what they want when they want, and just be more powerful if they are performing nicely. So that's the kind of thing that you are trying to do. Yeah, so buffering stuff. So I've been last week I've said that I've been buffering everything with slash, but I noticed that there was a lot of issues with the controls regarding the other moves, because why did this door open? Well, it shouldn't have, but well. This move, the smash, it has 2 frames of anticipation. This means that if you look closely, the character is like preparing his move, and after 2 frames, the move goes on. And that is an anticipation, which means that the damage is done only on the 3rd frame. The problem was that you could cancel this attack. If you are starting to smash something, and during the smash, right before these 2 frames of anticipation, you were like dashing or slashing, it was canceling the smash, and it was slashing or dashing instead. And that's the kind of stuff that is cool in a fighting game, because in a fighting game, it's cool to trick the enemy into thinking that you are going to do a specific move, but cancel it and do something else. That's the kind of stuff that is useful in fighting game, but it's not useful in our game. And we don't want you to feel like you hit a button and another, and that the game completely forgets that you've hit a button before another. So what I've been doing is adding buffering to all the attacks, to the dash, to the smash, to the slash, and also to the jump. And everything is like having the possibility to buffer inputs while they are being performed. For instance, if I dash on the ground and hit the slash button, the smash button, while the dash is performed, the character is going to land, and right after the dash is finished, it's going to do the smash attack. I'm going to try to show you this. I'm going to dash on the ground, and while I'm dashing, I'm going to hold the Y button to initiate a smash. And here we go. So I can dash and smash, dash, smash, dash, smash. And previously, this was quite difficult to achieve, because the inputs were not buffered. So the problem was that you could be dashing, and right when you hit the smash button, if it was still in the animation of the dash, the smash was ignored. You couldn't like set up a combo in advance. So that's what I've been doing like today, and I've been doing this for all the attacks. So you can now smash dash. You can dash smash, and you can also use the slash attack and also smashing, slashing, and slash dash. You can like set up any kind of combo and also compatible with the jump. You can, for instance, dash and jump, and that's all this kind of move you can set up then as they are happening. And it is way more comfortable to have this to be able to like think ahead, and when you are like playing fast the game and trying to do things as you think about it and so on, it feels way more natural, because there are absolutely no inputs that are ignored now, and every move has a priority over another, and you can really set up things like dashing, smashing, slashing, dashing, smashing, and it makes things very easy to like jump around and trying to kill enemies without touching the ground, like I said before. So you can really now, you are really in control of the game character now, and that's very cool. That's something that I really wanted to do, and right now it feels about right. So a question from Cyrilis. Is it comfortable to fire bullets in order to DP some combo? To do some combo, yeah, during a melee fight or after a slash, for instance. So right now, what you can do is just having the fire button being held down indefinitely, and that's pretty OP, and it's not the kind of stuff that you want to do, because most obviously you can simply just keep firing indefinitely while slashing at the same time, and of course it does additional damage, but we want to avoid that. And for this, it's going to depend on the weapon system that you are going to implement. Right now it's not in the game yet, but what we want to do is to have a weapon system that is, range weapons are going to be quite powerful or useful. They are going to like deal a lot of damage, or to stun enemies, to freeze them, to inflict them some other strange kinds of stuff, or maybe even cancelling their attacks. But it's going to be limited. You are not going to be able to like fire around as you like. And for instance, it's going to be a kind of like hyperlight drifter, when you have range attack and you have close range attack, and you have to like kill enemies with your sword to refill your range weapon. So that's the kind of synergy we are seeking about right now, and yeah, and we are also trying to think about enemies that are like immune to one kind of weapon or another, or maybe enemies that you will going to have to open with a range weapon before you are going to attack them with your sword, like breaking their shield and so on, and keep moving like this. But it's not intended for now that you are able to fire around indefinitely. Anthony's asking, will there be smarter enemies that track you down or dodge attacks? Yes. Right now the enemies are very dumb, because we have not I have not implemented that many behavior, but yeah, there are going to be enemies that are going to try to bite your ass, enemies that are teleporting around trying to snipe you, enemies that are going to trying to avoid you, getting into covers, and different kind of enemies. It's not going to be super advanced. I mean, we don't pretend or don't really want to have super intelligent enemies like that are very complex behavior, and each enemy are going to have some simple behaviors, but we hope that each enemy are going to have a unique behavior, but not a quite complicated one. Just that you have to adapt your strategy and how you move around, or maybe having enemies just to force you to move around, to go to have a certain patterns and so on, and not be able to combo there mid-air and so on. Hey, it's quite really so cool pixel art air. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it could be nice. Yeah. And other thing I've been doing, it's nothing special, but I am now forcing the dash attack to have a straight direction when you are on the ground or when you are on a wall, because previously the dash was following the direction of your stick, which means if I was pushing the stick like at 45 degree or even like down and left in the diagonal, the problem was if I was dashing towards the ground, the character really tried to dash towards the ground, and of course there was some friction with the ground and the dash was like not moving, and that was kind of a problem. So right now when you have the dash in a direction that is like pointed down to the ground, the game is ignoring the component of the down, and it just smoothing the dash to go in a straight line. And it's the same stuff when you were sliding on walls. There was some strange effect that it was like you were trying to dash toward the wall, but the wall had too much friction, and it felt like the dash went nowhere, and that was weird. So I fixed that. And the other stuff that I am going to work on tomorrow is that I want the dash to have something like a snapping aim towards the enemy you like to dash to. For instance, if I want to dash towards this enemy, I don't want the game to ask you for too much precision. As you notice, if I'm going to try to dash toward this enemy, I have some difficulty in this kind of angle to be very precise and to hit it every time. And what I want to do is to implement some kind of intelligent aim assist. It's not going to be something like an aimbot or something that is going to hit always the same enemy or the closest enemy and so on. I want to have something like is intelligent in the way that it's not going to like forcing you toward a specific enemy. It's going to like, I'm going to try to predict which enemy you are about or you are willing to hit, like depending on your direction, on the general movement that you are going to have throughout the level, like trying to predict where is going to be your next move, your next enemy. And based on this, I'm going to try to like, if you are using the dash and aiming somehow toward an enemy, and if it's compatible with my prediction, I'm going to try to snap this dash to this enemy specifically. And hopefully if it works correctly, it's not going to be intrusive. You are not going to feel like there is something that is magically snapping you to an enemy. And if I did this right, it's going to work well, because you are not going to think about there is an aim assist. And that's the whole point of doing smart things. I don't want to do like snapping and real like auto aim and so on. I just want to give you the very slight assist that makes you believe that you are aiming perfectly. You are a real boss at aiming things. But in fact, there is like a very slight correction into your joystick move, and depending on what the game have predicted and so on. And just to make you feel that you are very good, but not cracked enough to make you feel that the game is doing it for you. And that's the whole point of, and the trickiest part of doing this kind of stuff. I've done many of this kind of trick previously. Even in Neurovoider, there is some kind of trick like this, and nobody has ever noticed that there is some stuff like snapping and some like a little assist. It's not an assisted aim in the way that it plays the game for you. What I want to achieve is just something that makes you feel that you are good, but still having a fine enough control to really do what you want, and that's very difficult to achieve. But I really like this kind of problem. That's the kind of stuff I really like doing. So tomorrow what I am going to do is going to make something like a small AI to follow the enemy and try to predict the next move, and based on the whole the general flow of your gameplay and so on, trying to having something that learns a bit how you play, how you jump, and where you go, and where are your preferred enemies, and possibly what is your next direction depending on the current combos that you have. Yeah, and I've already done something a bit similar here for the door, because you can open door by firing at them. In the game, you have an automatic aim, and you also have a manual aim, but the manual aim is going to be only for precision shot. We don't want the game to be too much relying on precision shot, so the auto aim should be good enough. And for the door, here the auto aim is going to like predict what's going to be your next door. So the game assumes that you are not going to go into the door that you just came from. So the default value is that the drone is going to try to hit the next door. So that's one assumption. But the other assumption is based on your movement. And if I go down, it's going to try to open the room down. But if I'm going to like change direction and go up, the auto aim is suddenly like switching and understanding that no, you're not going to follow the natural order of things, and you are something like trying to backtrack. So there is something like very, very limited AI behind this idea. It's just trying to like predict what is going to be your next room, and which door you are like trying to go to and open. So if I just move around, so here it doesn't really know which door between the two at the bottom. There is the bottom one and then the bottom right one, and I've came from the top one. So right now the game doesn't really know which one I really want to go. So yeah, I move around, so he detected the up door. But if I want to go to the right, I'm just going to go to the right, and it's going to shoot at the right. And if I just move around and go to the down, it's going to detect the down door, the bottom door. It seems very, very simple and very intuitive. When you play the game and just move around and shoot at doors, you don't really notice that the game is like intelligently trying to figure out which is your next door. But in fact, there is some kind of tricky stuff behind, and that's the whole magic of. That's something that I really like doing, is make you feel that things are simple, but behind the scene there is some very complicated shit going on. Yeah, I'm trying to read. Oops, okay, someone, yeah. Arcadus, yeah, hello. I'm sorry, I had a very. I had some difficulties reading your name because in the chat you are like in a very strong green, and I had some very difficulty to read your name. But yeah, sorry. Hello. Yeah, if you have any more question, feel free. Like of any kind of stuff that you've been seeing right now, or if you want to see some very specific parts of the game. Yeah, don't watch the 82 errors. There are 22 build errors. Well, that's very strange because the game is launching. It's probably a loading issue, but there are no errors. There is no errors. Yeah, if you have any question about the game, the code of the game, stuff you are doing, stuff you are about to do, feel free to ask them in the chat for the next couple of minutes. And if there are no more questions, I believe that I'm going to end this stream here. Just going to go through the trailer of the project. So tomorrow what I am going to do is trying to figure out a name assist for the dash. Everything is in French, so maybe you don't understand, but this one is done. And yeah, auto aim assist on dash, and this one is that's what I'm going to try to figure out next. So this is our Trello. It's like not quite well organized, but it's something that we use to keep track of ideas, of stuff that we should do, of stuff that are pending, and many kind of stuff. And the other cool thing is this. I'm maybe going to post this online. It's our mood board. And our mood board is all the games that are like inspiring us, or for any kind of reason. Maybe because there is something special about their gameplay that we like. Maybe there is something special about their game feel, about their graphics, about their music. So this is all the list of game that has been some sort of influence to ScourgeBringer, and it's keep growing. So every time that we see other game that may have some good references or good comparison points in terms of polish, in terms of features, and also trying to not be too close to any other game and try something to do different. So we keep looking for new games that come out, that are announced. So there is some stuff like Fury, Dandara, Blixworld, which is not out yet, Monolith, which is excellent, the Bleed game, Downwell for the game feel, Cannibal for the graphics, Samurai Gun for the game feel of everything that is like platforming and slashing, Alice Other Demons, which is a cool twin stick, Luftrausser for its frantic action and for all the effects, Minute for the graphics, many stuff, and many games that we just reference. Riptail has some very cool effect about like dashing and slashing stuff, and it's a game like you on each room you something like try to define a path of enemies to like one-shot them. It's very graphic. The game is in black and white, and there is only blood and red. And I haven't played the game, but Florian did, and it said it was pretty cool. Some other kind of game, Aces Wild, which is a game which has, I believe, it was its combo system and everything that is. It's a bit small and it works quite okay when it comes to doing combos and hitting enemies in the air and so on, and everything that is air control. And yeah, it keeps growing. There is also Roof Rage. Roof Rage is a very cool fighting game in pixel art. It's kind of like Smash Bros, but with swords and ninjas. It's very cool. Okay, where's the chat? The chat is here. What is your coding language? My coding language is C Sharp. C Sharp is something that I've been doing for more than 10 years now. And it's made with a library which is called Monogame, and it's an open source recreation of what was called XNA back years ago. And I've been making monogame game and XNA games for a decade now. I also toy around a bit with C++ because I am also working on porting games, and I'm porting games for ourselves, of course, and also for other studios. And it's mostly monogame game and XNA game, but there is some part of in the process of porting that you have to put your hands into C++ code. So I'm also playing around with C++ a bit. And yeah, so that's basically it for today, I believe. So if you have more questions, or if you are watching this through the replay on YouTube or on Twitch, feel free to comment in the comment section, to send me a message on Twitter, or to drop by our Discord server and post pictures of your pizza. I don't know. But yeah, so it was very cool to have you here today, and hopefully see you next week. Yeah, for more ScourgeBringer stuff and so on. So thank you. Have a good day. Bye.